Hello, hello. All right. Happy Monday, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in the Washington, D.C. area. Sunny, warm. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great day, too. Lime. Some nice ice cold water to start the stream off. How's everyone doing out there? Say hello in the chat. If you're live with me, if you're watching. Don't forget I'm also on Twitch. Sam_Lichtman on Twitch, if that's your preferred method of watching. Hello, Suzanne AP. Hello, your boy Alex. How you feeling today, Sam? I feel good. Trolls is here. Am I saying your name right, Trolls? Troels or Trolls? Stefan is here. I say it pretty well. All right, Trolls. Trolls, you said Trump says a lot of nonsense. That's true. Today's title is Trump wants a third term, ... Gamer Alex said, if Trump can run for a third term, that means Obama can. Now that's almost worth it. I'd almost say Trump went for a third term. That way it can be Trump versus Obama, because that would just be so interesting. And I feel like Obama would wreck him, and that would be fun to watch. Did you hear about the death of Voice of America? I heard about the coming problems of Voice of America. I didn't hear. Is it done? Is it over? Aditya says, what's wrong if Trump wants a third term? FDR had so many terms. Well, they changed the Constitution after FDR. So that's what's wrong with Trump wanting a third term, is that the Constitution says you're not allowed to have a third term. John Leach says it's never going to happen. I agree it's never going to happen. I think he and his allies are going to make a lot of noise about it, but I agree that it'll never actually happen. Blaze says Obama would kick Trump's ass. I kind of agree. John Leach says Trump is out of his mind. Yeah. I agree with you, John. Guys, don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and turn on the bell so you know exactly when I go live. Blaze says Harris Obama 28. That would be interesting. VKM says, hello there. Did you see the recording someone else spoke of last Thursday about Biden seeing your dad's live stream? I've seen a couple people say that Biden watched the live stream, but I've seen no evidence of this. So if you have evidence of this, please tell me. Who was the worst president of the 20th century, do I think? Hoover, I guess? I don't know. You guys have to remember I'm not a presidential expert, so. Freddie says, MAGA wants to stipulate that you can only run for a third term if you've served 2 unconsecutive terms, which would prohibit Obama. Ah, I see. Very sneaky of them. Why does Trump want Greenland? Probably to drill for oil, mostly, I would assume. Monica Hill says, Trump wouldn't run, he would just stay. Yeah, that's the thing. If he wants a third term, you got to win, bro. You don't just get a third term in America. Troll says, if actual scientists say he has dementia, I don't think it will be a thing. Not sure he would live into the next election. I don't think he has dementia, personally. I haven't seen a ton of doctors come out and say he has dementia. Hello, Rich. Blaze says Woodrow Wilson is the worst president of the 20th century. Hello, Susan Clark. Did you hear that Levitt is kicking the press? They don't like to the back of the briefing room. Oh, no, I'm not surprised. They've already kicked press they don't like out of the briefing room, so I'm not surprised they're kicking press that they just disagree with to the back. So, not surprised at all. What game are you playing today? No games today. Today is a, current events, chatting, looking at the news stream. Hello, Dennis. I want to see exactly what Trump said about all of this. I found this article before we went live. Current event vibes, yeah. So Trump leaves the door open for seeking third presidential election. President Trump said he hasn't ruled out running for a third term, which is prohibited by the U.S. Constitution. I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have more people ask me to have a third term, Trump told reporters on Sunday. The 22nd Amendment of the Constitution bars presidents from serving more than 2 terms, but state no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. That seems pretty clear. It doesn't seem like there's any room for saying, well, we're talking about consecutive versus non-consecutive terms. It seems pretty clear here. Trump, 78, said he was responding to voters encouraging him to run again. We have almost a long time, but despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again, Trump said. They love the job we're doing. In a Sunday interview with NBC, Trump said there are methods that would allow him to run for a third term. He added he was not joking about the possibility. Oh, God. TM says he's just trolling. He said he was, quote, not joking, TM. Where can I watch this NBC interview? I would like to watch it. Is there the full interview anywhere? Nan B says, Trump running for vice president, then having the president step down. Would that work? It seems like the Constitution is pretty clear. It says, it doesn't say, it says, where is it? No person shall be elected. Oh, elected. That's an interesting word. This word elected is interesting because then that VP strategy might work, actually. Susan says, I believe he's serious, but doubt he can do it. That's kind of the way I feel. Like, I think if he could, he would, but I don't think he'll be able to. Vladimir says, all Trump has ever wanted is what was good for himself. Any attempt from him to run for a third term would be no surprise to me. Cohen says, Sam, you're becoming a YouTube legend slowly but surely. Wow, thank you. Look up Rep. Oleg's resolution about amending the Constitution. Oh, God. Let's see what this is.
Morning. President Trump is standing by his national security team as the fallout intensifies after top officials mistakenly shared attack plans for U.S. military strikes in Yemen on the Signal messaging app with a journalist. In an exclusive phone interview on Saturday, the president told me, quote, I don't fire people because of fake news and because of witch hunts.
Yeah, eye roll.
Mr. Trump said he still has confidence in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Just hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and
that's good, at least.
Threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil. Quote, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia.
That's a good thing, right? That's some progress.
Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine. On Iran, the president said he's also considering secondary tariffs if Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal. Quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
That's not good. We don't want to get into a war with Iran.
After markets tumbled on Friday and with consumer confidence falling, the president also told me he's not backing down on his tariff plans.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
And the president telling me tariffs are, quote, absolutely permanent. And on fears of foreign automakers raising prices, quote, I couldn't care less if they raise prices because people are going to start buying American-made cars. And on his vow to annex Greenland, the president saying, quote, I never take military force off the table, but I think there's a good possibility that we could do it without military force.
Come on, bro. We're not sending troops to Greenland. Give me a break.
The White House is still on defense this weekend after the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg says he was added to that signal conversation by Mr. Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, where details of the plans for an attack on the Houthis in Yemen were shared with him in real time. The chat included the vice president, the defense secretary, the secretary of state, the CIA director, and the director of national.
Then it says, but cars that are made in the U.S. are also made in Mexico, Canada, so confusing. Right. I agree. It's going to take a long time before, America's going to have to build their own manufacturing. I mean, maybe in the long run it'll work. I have no idea, but it's going to take a while before, because we'd have to build our own manufacturing plants that are already in Canada or Mexico. Yeah, I agree. It's confusing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
National intelligence. The explanations for what happened and how serious of a security breach it was have been evolving.
I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
Sucked into his phone. Never forget that. If you guys haven't seen that short on my channel, go check out that short.
You've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets sucked in.
There it is. It gets sucked in.
It gets sucked in.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Intelligence officials
Eye roll.
defended the sensitive nature of the content, denying it was classified.
My communications, to be clear, in a signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
There was no classified material that was shared.
Was there any mention of a target in Yemen?
I don't remember mention of specific targets.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard, of a weapon or weapons system?
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
How about anything about timing?
I don't recall specific timing.
Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe?
Not that I recall.
Ms. Gabbard?
Not that I recall.
After the administration insisted there was no classified information on the text chain, Goldberg released the messages that included Defense Secretary Hegseth sharing specific details about when bombs would drop and when U.S. jets would take off just 30 minutes before they launched the attack. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz texted that a key target of the attack had been seen walking into his girlfriend's building that had collapsed. President Trump is privately angry with Waltz, two Republican sources tell NBC News. The Senate Armed Services Committee has requested a formal investigation from the Pentagon's Inspector General, but the FBI and the DOJ seem unlikely to investigate the matter, even.
Kash Patel in an FBI jacket just makes me cringe. I don't know what it is. It just makes me cringe.
As pressure mounts for more accountability.
There was a crime here, and there should be accountability.
This White House lies. It's hypocritical. It's corrupt. So no, I don't trust the Fox to investigate the hen house.
I'm also puzzled by some of the answers that were given by the DNI at the intelligence hearing.
I think.
Misha Radhi says, even though if they're built here, they'll always need parts from other countries. Trump doesn't have any idea how the tariffs work.
Everybody has acknowledged, including the White House, that, mistakes were made. And what we want to do is make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
So how are you going to do
voter
that?
anger is growing over the issue, on display at this town hall in Indiana.
Will you demand the immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth? No, I will not demand that resignation.
Thanks for watching.
Boo her, boo her, boo her. That's the Ukrainian woman, right? Who's like right wing, if I remember correctly.
I want to buy your...
All right, I need to figure out this ad situation. Maybe I just need to get YouTube Premium, huh, guys?
President Donald Trump on the record saying he's not ruling out another run for the White House, telling NBC News, quote, there are methods by which he could do it. Now, the president is limited to 2 terms by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, but that has not stopped President Trump.
See, the key word in in the Constitution is elected. That's where I feel like they could start doing some hairy-ish.
I'm flirting with this idea before.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times.
That's a little funny. Come on.
Headlines from the fake news.
The fake news reporting on what I literally just said, but they're fake, even though I just said it.
Now it will be to serve twice. Should I run again? You tell me. There's your controversy right there.
Like these times, he's definitely trolling for sure.
There's your controversy.
CNN's Betsy Klein is live in West Palm Beach tonight. Betsy, he said he's not joking when asked about this, then also said that it's too early to be talking about it. What more is he saying?
Yeah, Jessica, you're absolutely right that this is not the first time this has come up, albeit a little tongue-in-cheek as you just laid out. But President Trump openly talking about the prospect of seeking a third.
This means George W. Bush could also run. I mean, technically Clinton could run again. Technically, I mean, anybody who's still alive and was president could run again, technically, if this becomes true.
Third term in office, and he says this is not a joke. I want to read to you part of the transcript from the telephone interview he had with NBC News' Kristen Welker. Welker says, "Sir, I'm hearing you don't sound like you're joking. I've heard you joke about this a number of times," to which the president responds, "No, I'm not joking. I'm not joking." The president goes on to say that there are methods on which he could seek a third term. Welker asked if it's possible that Vice President J.D. Vance gets elected and then passes the baton. The president indicated that that was an option, but he said there are others too.
Uh-oh. Who said that earlier? Someone said that's what they were going to do.
The president, of course, repeatedly said it is, quote, too early to think about it. Now, the 22nd
Yeah, don't forget, he's old. He's an old mofo.
Second Amendment to the Constitution, it bears repeating, Jessica, added back in 1951, and it says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Now, repealing that amendment.
No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term. That's about partial serving. Susan Clark says Michelle Obama is wonderful, but she has no desire to run. Yeah, I don't think Michelle Obama is saving us. People have been saying that for years now. I don't think it's happening. Only 39 likes, guys. 64 people watching. Like the stream now.
Amendment would require a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate and ratification in 3/4 of states. So that is extremely unlikely. However, Steve Bannon, who is a top outside ally to President Trump, has mused that the president could be eligible because the amendment doesn't specify consecutive terms. We should also note that President Trump is going to be the...
It says elected twice. He's been elected twice. Boom. He can't be elected again. There's no debate about consecutive in that language. The only thing I think is they might be able to wiggle into is this idea of elected.
The oldest president ever in office at the end of his second term, topping Joe Biden's record at 82 years and 7 months old in January of 2029. Asked if he even wanted to serve a third term, the president said he likes working. Jessica.
Joining me to discuss these comments, CNN contributor and former White House counsel for President Nixon, John Dean. John.
Angel Robb says he can't be vice president because he can still end up being president. And you think even if it was possible, it would bypass him soon? Yeah, but that's the issue. It only says the word elected. It doesn't say serve. Plan B is he'll declare martial law. Oh, God, don't it? Oh, fuck.
Thanks so much for being here with us. I first just want to get your reaction to these new comments from the president.
Well, he likes constitutional end runs. That's what Bannon was talking about. And that's what seems to be on his mind, is how he can get around the very clear language of the 22nd Amendment, which precludes getting reelected.
Angel Robb said I ran out of space. I mean that vice president couldn't happen because vice president couldn't become president because he's been president. So go to the next stage down to the speaker. But that's the issue, is that the Constitution only says elected. It doesn't say serve. Who's this old guy? John Dean.
To more than 2 terms.
And President Trump said, I have other methods. What could those...
No person shall be elected. Doesn't say no person shall be appointed or given the presidentship. Andrew Robb might be saying that Trump would have to run for VP for that to happen. Yeah. But why? I mean, he could.
Those constitutionally be?
They'd have to be written by the Supreme Court that would redefine the Constitution. As I say, I describe it as a constitutional end run. Jessica, this is not a...
TM says wouldn't happen. I kind of agree. I don't see Trump doing the whole VP route. Mick Haradi says Republicans will do anything to make him a king. That's a scary thought.
New debate. It actually goes back to a law journal article in 1999 where a bunch of scholars got together and looked at the 22nd Amendment and said, you know, maybe a president cannot be reelected twice, but maybe he can serve twice. How does he serve twice? He becomes a vice presidential candidate. Then the vice president steps aside and makes him the president under the succession statute. This is really obtuse. This is it is pretty good scholarship. It's been debated for a lot of years. Hillary Clinton looked at it when she was nominated, thinking maybe her president, her husband, former president, should be her vice president. But then she realized, well, he's not really eligible to become president under my reading and most readings of the 22nd Amendment. So she precluded that. A lot of people...
Sam, did you see the clip of Steve Bannon with Cuomo so confident that Trump was going to win in 28? I haven't seen that. Steve Bannon. Cuomo. Heather Grass says, no, it won't happen. Trump would never be VP. I kind of agree with that. And someone said, TM said, Vance wants to be POTUS. I kind of agree with that too. I'm going to set a quick donation goal, folks, for 30 minutes. Remember, I'm doing this full time now, so if you want to help me out, throw a donation my way. I'd much appreciate it. 30 minutes, 10 donos. Let's get after it.
Is behind him.
In the words of Chris, doesn't he say that? Let's get after it. I didn't even mean to do that. That was just a happy accident, as Bob Ross says.
So I want to talk about our present and our potential future, how he can explain what we're seeing in the administration and what his role might be. Because this is the guy behind much of the aggressive messaging. America being at war, the Democrats being the enemy, the media the enemy of the people.
Hedge Flounder says, honestly, I think even the Supreme Court would rule against this line of reasoning, at least all the liberals along with Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. Yeah, I sort of agree with you.
Okay, you've heard Trump say that a lot, but Bannon coined it, okay, in terms of this iteration of usage. The administrative state, that there needs to be shock troops to take control of the government institutions. He infamously predicted that all hell would break loose on January 6th. So I want to see where his mind is on what we're all living through together and what his role may be going forward. Joining me now, White House chief strategist at one time of the first Trump administration, host of Bannon's War Room, Mr. Steve Bannon. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Chris, thanks for having me on News Nation, and I appreciate you.
So the only thing that you're not going to like talking about, we'll talk about first. I'm watching CPAC, and they put up a poll of potential, next generation, right? Post-Trump. You are second on the list.
Really? That's weird. Do people like this CC on the videos or no? I'm going to do a poll on that. Do you like the CC or no? Bannon is second? That seems weird to me. I don't know. That seems strange. Isn't Bannon a criminal? Yes, he is. Definitely. He got pardoned by Trump, right? Or something. Vance is number 1. Bannon is 12 at 12%. DeSantis, Rubio, Stefanik, Don Jr., Gabbard, Ramaswamy, Huckabee, Sanders, Rick Scott. Very interesting. DeSantis is still hanging around. I thought we got rid of DeSantis. I thought we were done with him. He was such a dweeb, such a nothing. Hedge Funders is a criminal for the Republican presidential nominee. That could never happen. I find this interesting that Bannon is second at CPAC. But J.D. Vance is way, way ahead.
After the VP, as people getting the nod at CPAC to be president, a lot of people were surprised by this. My first question, you have anything to do with putting your name in that list because you have presidential ambitions?
No. And President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now.
Give me a break, bro. A man like this. Come on. What is CC closed captioning? Like the captions on the videos here.
On fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say, but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence, doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue because
Shady ass mofos. That's what they are.
I don't want people to listen to our interview and say,
"Hello, Susie Q." No, CC. Maybe I should redo this poll. Do you like the closed captions? Ice Cream says, nope, I do not want him to run for a third term. Yeah, neither do I. He can't. He can't be elected.
Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 was stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots.
Yolanda says, who will vote for him? That's a good point. He also, if he does run again, he still has to win. I don't think I think the strategies they're thinking of are outside of an election. I really do.
To return to the White House, we said that day in our podcast and doubled down, having President Trump's back, that he was coming back not just to win the primary, he would win the White House, and we had to get organized and drive that victory and also start working on all the policies, what's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call Flood the Zone or Days of Thunder or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff we're working.
No, you haven't. I don't think you've had a greater long shot than trying to figure out how to go around the Constitution.
Working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly.
Troll says, is it me or does he kind of look like Greta Thunberg? I can kind of see it. Hold on. That's funny as hell. Greta Thunberg. Yeah, they kind of do look alike. Wait a second. Kind of. Putin is in the hospital? Is that true? I don't see any reports about Putin being in the hospital.
But in a couple of months, I think we will be.
But you are not suggesting revolution or overthrow or anything that people would condemn.
Chris, we just won one of the biggest sweeping victories. We're in the middle of a 1932 type realignment if we can continue on and continue to have populist policies, populist nationalist policies. We have African American men coming to our side. We have Hispanics coming to our side. So no, we're huge believers in democracy because we know how to get votes out. We know how to get low propensity, low information voters out to support the president's policies. The anti-democratic forces, I think you're seeing them today in the courts. I mean, they're trying to obstruct a sitting president of the United States from fulfilling his executive mandate. So no, we're the big believers in democracy, and we show it because we won this
BS.
This unbelievable come from behind, not just in.
I'm tired of listening to this guy. Zelensky says Putin has cancer. Is that true? Zelensky, Putin, cancer.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how.
Are you guys making stuff up?
Zelensky has now claimed that his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, will quote-unquote die soon. Now, these remarks come amid widespread speculation about the Russian leader's health, and Russia has strongly...
What am I even watching? What news network is this?
...rejected all speculation, maintaining that the Russian leader is fully fit. The Ukrainian leader made the bold claim while speaking to a French journalist in a televised interview after meeting the French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Zelensky said Putin hopes to remain in power until his death, and his ambitions are not limited to Ukraine. He added that the Russian leader's death would bring an end to the war between the two countries. There has been growing speculation over Putin's health.
Are you guys, this is like a sketchy story. Zelensky, Putin. I guess Zelensky said he was gonna die soon. But I'm not seeing like a ton of reputable sources reporting this. I'm out on this, guys. I'm out. So what happened? Someone said Voice America is gone. Midas Touch mentioned it. I don't know if Midas Touch is necessarily the most accurate journalist in the world.
Tonight, the voice of...
Zelensky said it on an interview. All right, send it to me. I can't find this interview. TM says, Midas Touch is good, but it's opinion. Yeah, that's basically the way I feel. Zelensky, French, interview, Putin. I'm still not seeing... I mean, DW is reputable.
Well, good evening, President Zelensky. So you are here, Mr. President, in Paris to attend tomorrow's Summit for Peace and Security in Ukraine. 31 countries present. First, perhaps a word.
This is 47 minutes. I'm not going to watch this whole thing. So I guess he said it in this interview, something about Putin. I don't know.
America is silent. The storied broadcaster was launched in 1942 to counter Nazi propaganda. But
Didn't Trump put Carrie Lake in charge of Voice of America? Thank you, Heather Grass. I appreciate that donation. Lake was sworn as a special advisor to the United States Agency for Global Media, so I guess not. Or I don't know, now I'm confused. Oh, Donald Trump in 2024 had indicated Lake as his choice to lead Voice of America, but in early 25, the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which oversees the Voice of America, announced that she would serve as a special advisor. So she's not the head then. She's a special advisor, whatever the hell that means. Nothing. Carol Weber says it was reported several months ago that Putin was diagnosed with cancer and was in treatment. Reported by who? Because that's key. Because I'm not seeing a ton of credible sources about this.
And the world in their
Marine Le Pen has been barred for office for 5 years. Wow, really? I gotta look into that.
own languages. It all came crashing down in a single day.
The story will continue in a moment.
Thoughts on MSNBC? I feel like they're starting to turn really far left. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of MSNBC. I agree, they're just becoming too opinion-based. I think they should be news first.
Knew at that point the voice of America was going to die.
Patrick Murray said, Sam, I asked your dad a while back if Trump would run for a third term, and you guys laughed at me. I mean, I still think it's laughable. That's a good point.
VOA.
Beware with 60 Minutes? What do you mean? They're going to claim me? They're taking down streams left and right. All right. That's enough of that then. Sad to see Voice of America go. Marine Le Pen.
Breaking news out. We turn now to breaking news out of France. A court in Paris has just found the leader of the country's far-right National Rally Party, Marine Le Pen, guilty of misappropriating EU funds. She's now banned from running for president. CBS News foreign correspondent Elaine Cobb is following all of this for us from Paris this morning and joins us now. Elaine, good morning to you. It seemed like Le Pen, upon hearing the verdict, walked right.
There's a huge protest happening April 5th. Hands off? What does that mean exactly? Hands off. TM says, are we the only country that puts leaders above the law? Seems so, unfortunately.
Right out of the courtroom. Tell us about the implications of what's just happened.
Good morning, Errol. Well, far-right leader Marine Le Pen has seen her dreams of being the next president of France dashed by the court. She was found guilty of using those EU funds to pay staffers of her National Rally Party. As soon as the guilty verdict came down, she stoically listened and then got up and left the court before the sentencing was handed down. The judge...
Damn, this is pretty big news. And this poll, people like the closed captioning.
Handed her a 4-year prison sentence, 2 of those suspended, 2 to be served wearing an electronic tag.
Damn, she's going to be ankle braceleted up?
Was also given a fine of more than $100,000. But much more importantly, she has been barred from seeking public office for the next 5 years. And that means her dream of running for president in 2027 is dashed. She cannot enter that race.
What's also significant is that she has become more popular. Her party has gained a larger share of votes over the years, and she has framed this as political persecution. So what happens next?
Of course she has. That's what everybody who does. I'm so sick of powerful people doing messed up stuff and being like, I'm being prosecuted. Political prosecution. Give me a fucking break.
She got 41% in the race in 2022, which was the highest the National Front has ever scored. And
Language of Horses is good. I'm glad she's out of there. Me too, man. Good riddance, Marine Le Pen. Won't miss you.
They have been
Peace. Won't miss you.
Increasing in popularity. So Marine Le Pen knows that if she wants the party that she has given her life to win, she has to sacrifice herself, move aside and let her protege, Jordan Bardella, run in her place. Now, he does have...
Who's her? Jordan Bardella. Jordan Bardella. How do you spell it? He's only 29? Damn. Yeah, he's only 29. Oops.
Have a bit of time because the race isn't on yet. In France, it all starts a bit later, but the election is in 2 years' time. So she will now be forced to take a back seat, which she did not want to do. And it
I broke the law, but I'm also being politically prosecuted.
Will hurt, but she...
No sympathy. You break the law, you do messed up shit, you face the consequences. Thumbs up for that in the chat, guys.
If she has always said she cares about the party, so she's going to have to stand behind him. He will be thrilled. He has been quietly garnering support and making his push for a later race, but also he is the president of the far-right National Rally Party. So all eyes now on what will happen in 2027.
Remarkable developments. 1:14 in Paris, and Elaine Cobb with the latest. Thank you.
That's pretty big news.
How do you know when it's time to end?
Vibe in Allan. We come on air with some breaking news in the past few moments from France, where the far-right leader Marine Le Pen has been banned from running for office after being found guilty of embezzlement. Well, you can see some images there. That's before she went in today. Now, this is consequential because, of course, France has a presidential election in 2027, and Marine Le Pen was seen as a leading candidate in that. There's a lot of things we still don't know about how long that ban is for. I think we now can go straight to our correspondent who's at the court, Hugh Schofield. Hugh, just bring us up to date on what we've just heard on the sentence.
We are in the middle of it now. It's very, very tense here. We don't know the total detail of the sentence against her. We know that she's been found guilty, Marine Le Pen. We know that she will face a period of ineligibility, but we still don't know, at least I don't know, it hasn't filtered out from inside the court.
All right, this is we already know. We know. Uh-oh. World braces for U.S. trade war escalation.
We're going to start with a story that will dominate the week. President Trump's trade war, as stock markets here in Europe are down on the back of steep falls in Asia. Fears are growing over the scope of US trade taxes that are due this week. Well, the president has designated Wednesday Liberation Day, when any country that
Dennis says the ankle bracelet is a bit much. I guess she deserves it, though. Bro, she broke the law. No one's above the law. If you break the law, you face consequences. She was supposed to go to jail, so the judge he took 2 years off, they said, and he reduced it from jail time to ankle bracelet time. So she got off fine.
Taxes US goods will face the same taxes on their own imports into America. It's what's known as reciprocal tariffs. Now, some countries had hoped to be able to avoid them, like the UK, that's looking to cut its own trade deal. But comments from the president on Sunday that tariffs will hit all countries has seemingly spooked investors. So let's talk to Kathleen Brooks, who's research director at the trading platform XTB. And Kathleen, that's the problem, isn't it? We don't yet know what this will look like, and the fear is evident in the market numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some capitulation going into this tariff announcement on Wednesday. We saw the sell-off start at the end of last week, and it's definitely continued today. It's that known unknown. We've known this has been coming, but there's been a bit of a chaotic rollout of these tariffs from President Trump. He's given tariffs, he's then taken them away. I think there was a hope that this would be at least kicked down the road a little bit, but it seems like, there's been no let-up from Trump over the weekend. The fact that he's mentioned all countries has really meant...
Over the weekend...
that, tariffs is just dominating market sentiment. Tariffs is bad news for growth, so that's why stocks are falling so sharply.
Yes, and that was going to be my question. What is it that they're actually worried about? Is it the idea that tariffs will add extra costs, so that means that maybe consumers and business have less cash in their pocket, and therefore they can't, divert that money to be used elsewhere to fuel growth? Is that fundamentally what they're scared of here?
This is what happens to your body when you eat cheese.
Oh my God.
I think there's fears about inflation. We've just come out of an inflation cycle. We really don't want to go back into one. There's fears of growth being hit as well. Certainly, if you've got tariffs on your exports, that's going to hurt your economy. But what's really interesting, Ben, is that the US economy and the US financial markets have seen $5 trillion wiped off of their stock market value since Trump came into play. The market is really seeing this as being very bad for the US economy as well, and really bad for global economy, but global economic growth, global trade, but also for global geopolitics, global diplomatic relations. The markets don't know how to price Trump in this time around. And that's what's really knocking sentiment. It's that known unknown, I think, that is a big problem when it comes to investors and pricing in what to do or what steps to take next.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, and we heard it once again.
James says, honest question, do you think Bragg and Letitia James would bring their cases against Trump had he never run for president? I think they would have if he didn't run for president, but that's why he ran for president, to protect himself. Nothing wrong with the English accent. I know, I was just teasing a little bit. The Australian election is coming up. It's a very tight race.
And from President Trump, just in the headlines there.
What's the stock market doing today? No, I like the English accents, guys. Extreme fear is driving the market. But the Dow and the S&P are up a little bit. The NASDAQ is down.
Our government has chosen to face global challenges the Australian way. Now, on the 3rd of May, you choose the way forward.
So what? A little over a month till their election. I don't really know anything about Australian politics, so maybe I'll learn something right now.
Your vote has never been more important, and your choice has never been more clear. This election is a choice between Labor's plan to keep building or Peter Dutton's promise.
Our Australian government reporter Ben Westcott is in Canberra and he joins us now. All right, well, it's on. We're waiting. May the 3rd is the day. Who's best positioned to win at the moment? Polls have got it looking pretty close, and there could be a significant performance from independents as well. What are we looking at?
Yes, that's right. Finally we're in the election campaign proper. And until very recently, we would have said that Peter Dutton was looking incredibly strong. The polls were moving his direction. But actually, since that Reserve Bank interest rate cut in February, we have seen a slight uptick for Albanese. And a number of polls now, his centre-left Labor Party is ahead, about 51-49. Now, the government is pretty confident given those numbers. They believe that during most Australian election campaigns, votes swing towards the incumbent, and therefore they're feeling pretty chuffed. But there's no doubt.
So he's the Labor Party guy, this guy, right?
That there is still a great deal of frustration about cost of living in the community, a great deal of anger that Peter Dutton will be tapping into in his campaign to make Anthony Albanese the first.
Fun fact, voting is mandatory in Australia, and they give out hot dogs called democracy sausage to voters. Now, that's the way to do it. I actually did know that it was mandatory. Yep, Albanese is in the Labor Party. Gotcha.
First-term government to lose power in a century.
Oh, my gosh. I look up one stock. I look at the stocks once, and I get the JP Morgan ads, huh? That's annoying. Yeah, what does happen if you don't vote?
And you mentioned we would.
What happened? happens if you don't vote in Australia? Yanni doesn't believe mandatory voting should be a thing. If you did not vote at a state or referendum, you may receive an email, text, or notice in the mail seeking an explanation for your apparent failure to vote. You have to respond. Electors who fail to vote at a state election and do not provide a valid and sufficient failure will be fined. Damn, that's cray. The penalty first time I find it is $50 and this increases to 75. All right, it's not that much. Interesting. Voting in local government elections is not compulsory. So you get fined if you didn't vote. If you don't vote and then you don't say why you didn't vote. That's interesting.
We're talking about the teals and how impactful they.
Even if you're exempt for religious reasons? No, I'm assuming that you could be exempt for religious reasons and you'd be fine. Because they said as long as you respond, you're fine.
They were in the last election. They expected to be this influential this time around. Will they be kingmakers?
VKM says, personally, I disagree with forced voting, but then again, voters here in India take their civic duties more seriously than Americans. Yeah, we got to get more Americans to vote for sure.
I mean, they're, if anything, more important this term than they were last time. There's been this long-term trend in Australian politics towards having more of a minority vote rather than a vote for the two major parties. In the last election, it was about 1 in 3 votes that went to minor parties or independents, and there's no reason to expect it to change this time. We've seen similar results at state elections. Given that, and given the ever-creeping threat of minority government to the major parties, it's quite possible that the Teal independents who get elected this time could end up deciding after May 3rd who becomes Australia's next Prime Minister, whether that's Anthony Albanese or Peter Dutton. So you can expect a lot of questions of them in the weeks ahead about who they would support, although I believe that they're all basically saying at this stage that's what the negotiations are for after May 3rd.
Well, we've had both the major parties unveiling their economic visions this week with the...
Sauceboss says, everything now rests on the upcoming midterms. No blue wave midterms means one heck of a fight next presidential election. Y'all better not vote by mail and get purged. I think you're right, Sauceboss.
Budget and the budget reply. Now, if there is a minority government, whatever flavour that is, what are those negotiations going to mean for the...
The astronauts are having a press conference. Are people interested in that?
There's DIY.
Debbie says, Trump is fake news. No doubt. What is this promo they're doing right now? Like, do we need this? I thought this was just a press conference. It's not on yet.
To NASA's Johnson Space Center for our Crew 9 news conference today. We are joined today here in person with our Crew 9 astronauts Nick Hague, Sunny Williams, and Butch Wilmore. We'll be taking questions from here in the room and on our phone bridge, but before we do that, we'll kick it off with some opening remarks from our crew. Nick, go ahead.
Thanks, Courtney. Wanted to kick off with words that would describe what the Crew 9 mission meant. And I think ultimately it's unique, like every spaceflight mission tends to be. And you don't know exactly how they're going to play out. But I think that the Crew 9 mission, when it comes to it,
So they spent 9 months in space. Did it feel like 9 months to them, or it was like 9 months on Earth, which doesn't exactly translate to 9 months in space? Does anybody know the answer to that?
NASA was balancing the safe return of Sunny and Butch with the need to continue the mission that's been going on board the space station for 2.5 decades up there, performing research for the benefit of humanity. And so there was a decision made to send Alex and I up with a couple empty seats and integrate Butch and Sunny into the crew of Crew 9. And then bring them back at the end of a long-duration spaceflight mission. And so we sit here today, minus Alex, who's recuperating in Russia right now, with friends and family, thankfully. And we sit here as a testament to the success of that mission.
They had a Russian with them? Oh, no.
Sunny?
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to say thanks to Nick and Alex for coming up and getting us and bringing us home. And
Rich says it translates to 9 months in space. They weren't fast enough to time travel. I don't know. I don't know anything about space. I don't know anything about physics, guys. I'm going to be honest with you.
Really got us ready to go. All of the trainers here at Johnson Space Center, the mission control teams all over the country, in Florida to California, so throughout the whole country, as well as what we're doing now. Our teams here are getting us ready to get rehab and get ready to take on new challenges. So feeling good since we've been back almost 2 weeks now. Actually went out and ran 3 miles yesterday, so I will give myself a little pat on the back.
You go, girl.
Our trainers are rocking it and getting us ready to get back to help out with the new astronauts as they're getting ready for their mission. So the biggest thing I want to say was thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny. Let me start off with an analogy, a sports analogy. This very difficult job that we take part in, it's a team sport. It encompasses organizations throughout NASA, throughout the country, coming together, the Commercial Crew Program, headquarters, the International Space Station program, working together day in and day out behind the scenes, diligently to make all of this work together. And then you couple that with a nation that comes together and it cares about.
Their bones are weaker and their heart shrinks the longer you're in space. Is that true? You can see her chin changed after 9 months in space. How did her chin change?
Is beyond our own borders and brings in the world like no other organization on or off the planet. And I can tell you, it's simply a privilege to take part in all of that.
All right, thank you all for your opening remarks. We will go ahead and start taking questions now. If you're in the room, please raise your hand and we'll be sure to get a microphone over to you. If you're joining from our phone bridge, please press *1 when you're ready to enter the queue. And due to the high volume of questions today that we are receiving, we ask that media start with 1 question, and if we have time for a second round, we'll come back around to you. We'll start here in the first row with any questions. Mark, go ahead.
Mark Strassman, CBS News. Welcome back, everyone. Good to talk to all of you again. We're meeting in this auditorium for a reason. There are roughly 60 news outlets represented here, another 120 or so on the phone. Butch and Sunny, have you been surprised by the continuing and intense interest in your space saga?
I would have to say yes, absolutely. It's interesting. We go and launch. We knew it was a little bit unique, obviously, first time flying on a new spacecraft. So yeah, that was interesting. But
I had no idea any of this stuff about bone density and muscle atrophy. That's crazy.
friends in the astronaut office do is go and work and train and do amazing science experiments up on the International Space Station. So, I think you sort of get maybe a little bit tunnel visioned in what your job is. So, do your job type of thing, right? And so you're not really aware of what else is going on down here. I hate to say that, maybe the world doesn't revolve around us, but we revolve around the world, like something like that. But, I think we were just really focused on what we were doing and trying to be part of the team and making sure we pulled our weight for the team. Of course, we heard some things, and I'll let, obviously hand this off to Butch, heard some stuff from our friends and family that people were interested and wondering what was going on.
So her chin changed? I mean, is this when she came back? I mean, she's so much younger here, it's hard to tell. I mean, she's got a chin. Nothing wrong with that. She's got a chin. You know what I'm saying?
Amazed that we could hopefully be one positive element to bring people together.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much I could add to that. Just thankful for a nation that cares, a nation that prays, and a nation that is involved in the processes that are important to all of us.
Butch
Okay, we'll take our
Willimore,
next
now that's an
question here
astronaut
in the
name right
room.
there.
Tom, go ahead.
Hi, Tom Costello with NBC News. Again, welcome back. Nice to see you all. Everybody's been thinking about you and worried about you. And I'm wondering, once you got your feet back on terra firma, what's the first thing both of you wanted to do? And were there any foods you were craving?
Don't say terra firma like that, you nerd.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to hug my husband and hug my dogs. And I'll say that in that order. But maybe not. No, I'm just joking. But of course, food, something that's just like for home for me, like something that is very, reminds you of home. And my father was a vegetarian, so I had a good grilled cheese sandwich when I got home. So that reminded me of him.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Embracing the family again, but also the opportunity, and I've already said it a couple of times, is just to say thank you to a nation that got involved in all of this. It makes it special, not just for us, but for all, I think, our nation as a whole. So thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question right here in the front row.
Thank you. My question's for Sonny. When you first got off the plane in Houston, we saw you hug Zena Cardman, and there was a nice exchange. If you could describe what happened and your gratitude towards the crew members who stepped aside so that you'd have seats coming back.
Yeah, it's a great observation, so thank you very much. Zena's awesome, Stephanie Wilson, awesome. When this whole thing was unraveling, like my heart went out because it's just sort of like, wow, you're waiting for your space flight, specifically Zena as her first flight. Like, wow, it's a little bit rough to know that you're going to be moved to a different flight. But at the same time, she is an awesome person, an awesome astronaut. She's going to get the opportunity. And, this just wasn't the right flight for her to be on at that moment in time. And so I just gave her a big, huge hug. I told her that I used her Crew 9 shirt when we were up there for a photo op, but I packed it back up real nicely and put it in her stuff. And, little joking aside, I just wanted to really tell her thank you for taking one for the team. And that's what our office is about. But she needed to have that acknowledgement.
Okay, we'll take one more question here in the room, and then we'll head to our phone bridge.
Hi, this question is for Sunita. I'm Jeff Saperstone, by the way, from NBC in Boston. A lot of people in your hometown in Needham, they've been watching this
Go Sox.
bit by bit, every moment. Yeah.
Boo.
Everybody at the elementary school, there was a big watch party for you when you came home. What's your message to them? They've been so anxiously awaiting for you to return.
Oh, well, I'm back. First and foremost, we were always coming back, and I think people need to know that. And we're back to actually, share our story with so many people because, it's like you all mentioned, it's slightly unique, and there's some lessons learned to it. And part of that is just resilience and being able to take a turn that was unexpected.
How old is she, Suni?
And I think that is the biggest thing that I want to, pass down, particularly to kids who think that their life should be the straight arrow to where what you want to do, and you're just going to get there. Well, sometimes it takes some turns, some rights and some lefts, and you just keep focused on your goal, and other doors might be open for you. So I think that's the biggest message.
All right, we'll head to our phone bridge. Our first question there is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Welcome back, everybody. Butch, this question is for you. Where do you lay the blame for your Starliner test flight? Clearly, Starliner was not ready to fly when it did. Whom do you hold responsible for everything that happened? Thanks.
That is a question that I cannot answer in a couple of comments. But I'll start
That's the
with
juicy
me.
stuff.
There were some issues, of course, that happened with Starliner. There were some issues, of course, that happened that prevented us from returning on Starliner. And I'll start with me. There were questions that I, as the commander of the spacecraft, that I should have asked, and I did not. At the time, I didn't know I needed to. And maybe you could call that hindsight, but I'll start and point the finger and I'll blame me.
That's
I could
big of
ask some
them.
questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide. So blame, that's a term, I don't like that term, but certainly there's responsibility throughout all the programs, and certainly you can start with me. Responsibility with Boeing, yes. Responsibility with NASA, yes. All the way up and down the chain. We all are responsible. We all own this. And we are, in this business, trust, you cannot do this business without trust. You have to have ultimate trust. And for someone to step forward and these different organizations say, hey, I'm culpable for a part of that issue, that goes a long way to maintaining trust. So we're not going to look back and say this happened or that happened. And
That's a good answer, honestly.
to blame. We're going to look forward and say, what are we going to use our lessons learned from this whole process and make sure that we are successful in the future. This is a tough business. The analogy about it is it's always a curvy road. It's never straight in this business. And minimizing those curves and being systems and processes in effect to prevent some of these curves is what we have to do as we leave low Earth orbit and go beyond to the moon and beyond that. So we're going to look, that's the focus.
All right, our next question on the phone bridge is from Anthony with Spectrum News.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. It's nice seeing everyone return healthy and safe. I have a question for both you, Sunny, and Butch. Given the opportunity...
Yes, because we're going to rectify all the issues that we encountered.
Yeah.
We're going to fix them. We're going to make it work. Boeing's completely committed. NASA is completely committed. And with that, I get on in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would agree. The spacecraft is really capable. There were a couple things that need to be fixed, like Butch mentioned, and folks are actively working on that. But it is a great spacecraft, and it has a lot of capability that other spacecraft don't have. And to see that thing successful and to be part of that program is an honor.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Jackie with the Times of London.
Trump going to blame DEI next,
yes,
for
hello,
sure.
and welcome back to Earth. I wondered about the stuck, stranded maroons narrative, and to what extent were you aware of that narrative playing out around that down here, and has that been frustrating for you to have to address? Thank you.
I'm sorry, that was a little garbled.
The stuck maroons narrative.
Oh, stuck maroon.
Oh, the stuck maroon narrative. We heard about that. Yeah, we heard about that.
Somebody mentioned that.
We've said this before. We had a plan.
How old's
right?
Butch?
The plan went way off for what we had planned, but because we're in human spaceflight, we prepare for any number of contingencies.
62,
because
wow.
This is a curvy road. You never know where
just
it's going to
picture
go.
astronauts being younger
We prepare
usually.
for this. So we, as Sonny used the term, and it's a great
turn on the
term,
light
we
one second.
pivoted to all that training we did that we didn't think we needed to do, and a lot of people didn't think we needed to do, but we did it anyway, as we pivoted to this other preparation, and that is what makes human spaceflight, your human spaceflight program, special. It is hard, like I said, and preparing for any number of contingencies is what we do. It happened to be me and Sonny involved in this, but it could have been any one of the astronauts. There's 40 or so of us eligible for assignment.
That's funny.
It would have
So
been any
New
one
York.
of us that would have been in the same situation, or could have been in the same situation, and would have done the exact same thing that we did, because they would have gone prepared just like we did.
Yeah, and one addition to that, this is a lot bigger than, Butch and myself, like we've talked about already. This is the International Space Station program, and there's a lot of, wheels that are turning and wickets that we have to go through to get people up to the International Space Station to do all of the amazing science that we're doing up there We recognize that, we know that, just like anybody else in the astronaut office, and we came, as Butch has mentioned before, prepared, and we were ready to do that pivot and be part of that bigger thing that's not just about us, knowing that everybody on the ground, there's a huge team of people, like I quickly mentioned in my quick thank you, but there's a huge group of people who are looking at the whole.
Cash Now says, not sure if it's your stream or what you're watching, but it's cutting out. I noticed it cut out on their stream once. Is anybody else having issues with my stream? Rich says, it is simple, $80 million for flying up there. They don't spend it just to get you back.
We can do this, we can do that. They're looking what's best for the human spaceflight program, for our nation's goals. They're not looking just about Sonny and Butch. And we appreciate those entities that do that and reach out and say, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. And NASA says, hey, we got a plan, we came prepared, here's what our plan is. And we think this is the best plan because it doesn't disrupt the flow of how these missions lay out. So, and that's the one we went with.
All right, we'll take our next question here in the room. Andrea, go ahead.
Thank you guys for being available today. So your mission became unusually political. Given your experience, do you think other astronauts are going to get nervous that they could be caught in the middle of a political fight? And is there a point where, you know, this starts to jeopardize safety of a mission when you start looking at all these politics that come into play? Thank you.
You know, I think Nick's got some good insight on that.
Good job.
Who is this third guy?
So the way I'd like to answer that is that when we're up there operating in space, you don't feel the politics, you don't feel any of that. It's focused strictly on mission. And you know, if I step back a little bit to the question before, Butch and Sonny talk up here, they make it sound like, you know, well, you know, everybody figured out what they could do with us. The reality is they are highly skilled, very technically competent, and it took everything I had on every day to keep up with them as they're moving along. So they were more than just gap fillers on the station. They were productive, pushing the station mission forward. And Sonny was the station commander, so she was calling the shots. So you get in that environment, that operational environment, the politics, they don't make it up there. We are working as a part of an international team that spans the globe and works with, you know, half a dozen mission control centers spread around the globe that are talking in multiple languages, and we just figure out how to make it happen. And that's the magic of human spaceflight, is that we can focus on something so positive that pulls people together, and we've been doing that for a long time. Yeah.
All right, we'll take our next question here in the room.
Hi, I'm Jay Wan with KPRC, the NBC affiliate in Houston. This question is for Butch. I actually stopped by your church right before I came here, and I heard that you were still attending your church services from space.
Right.
Can you tell me a bit about why that was important for you to do?
Well, goodness, the Word of God can continually.
So New York says you can't go anywhere to escape politics. Not even space, folks.
And to tie in and to worship with my church family was vital. I mean, it's part of what makes me go. And not only that, I also...
And space is only going to get more political as we advance and as we move into the future.
Well, every single week. And it was invigorating. It was part of what I need as a believer in Jesus Christ, to continue that focus. It assisted me day in and day out, because I need that fellowship, even though it's fellowship from afar. And it's not like being fellowship up close, but still I need it. So yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, we'll head back to our phone.
Search for You says, what made it political was Trump blamed Biden for them being stuck up there. I mean, that's what I remember. Yeah. Trump makes freaking everything political. It's exhausting.
Your mission, probably the most popular NASA mission to the general public for as long as I can remember, probably since the retirement of the shuttle. But for the whole crew, do you think this extra attention has been a net positive or a net negative for the agency's sort of popularity and the spaceflight industry as a whole? Thank you.
TM says it's too bad Elon had to own the company that got them down. Look, SpaceX is an impressive company. There's no denying that.
are paying attention. And, you know, sometimes good news, bad news, it's just news, and it's good for space exploration, and that's what we're all about. You know, our mission, of course, building and working on the International Space Station was just awesome, and we all had the opportunity to do that. But we also have bigger goals of exploring our solar system, going back to the moon, going on to Mars. And to get people understanding that it is hard, it is difficult, and what we do up there is really awesome. And I think at least that we had a little bit of that came with the interest in this mission. And if we can perpetuate that and tell people a little bit more and have the opportunity.
But Elon is not impressive. I agree with that. The man himself is, the businesses he created, impressive. Him, not impressed.
Hi there. Could you perhaps talk about how difficult it was being away from your friends and family, particularly since you hadn't prepared for that?
Difficult. Yes, I would say it was difficult. It wasn't in the preparation, but in my family, we talk about these possibilities. We discussed all of this. We never said we were going to be gone for 9 months, but it turned out that way.
You know what's an underrated space movie is First Man with Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy. That's an underrated space movie. No one ever talks about that, but I like that movie.
And they understand that. And they, again, use that term, pivoted and got on board, understanding that this is part of what families and these type of businesses do. And it's not just in human spaceflight. This is military, armed forces, police forces, all across all different types of occupations.
Rich says, what should Biden have done? Sent an $80 million rocket up there just for them. That is not how this works. They get them back the next time they have a mission planned.
Where they've been involved in similar type situations, and all of that came together. And, you know, the Lord's help, we persevered, and they persevered, and I can tell you, I am very proud of them.
We'll take another question on our phone bridge and then head back into the room. Our next question is from Tom with Sky News London.
Taunton says, Elon is definitely talented, smart, and savvy dude, but he lacks emotional intelligence and pure wisdom. Those two qualities make a moral, just man. He ain't got it. I agree with you.
Space and the International Space Station. Some of the statements that were made during your stay up there caused embarrassment to NASA, forced them to make corrections to statements.
This guy's going in.
Now that you're back, did the politics around your stay make a difficult situation worse?
I'm not sure I understood.
I didn't understand the question.
Missed everything except for that last part.
Yeah, you came in just, you were broken up just a little bit. Could you please try to repeat your question one more time?
They heard it.
Yes,
Come on.
I will, yes. Can you hear me? I was asking whether, although the political wrangling around your extended stay in space brought a lot of attention to human spaceflight, it did, some of the political statements raised caused embarrassment to NASA, forced to make denials about various things that were offered and not offered, and sometimes to your astronaut colleagues. Did the politics around your mission make a difficult situation worse?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, I talked about how the politics kind of, they don't make it up there when we're trying to make operational decisions. So as the commander of Crew 9, responsible for the safety of this crew and getting them back safely.
Well, this guy's the commander,
I can
but
tell
I guess
you
he didn't go up.
that the entire time up there, I launched with that singular objective of showing up to the station and having to integrate Butch and Sonny into a crew with Alex and myself. And then we were planning, from day one to return toward the end of February. That all predicated on the fact that we would have a replacement crew show up and we'd have adequate handover with that crew before we left. That's important to maintain the mission of the International Space Station, to continue pushing research and exploration. And that was never in question the entire time. There were There were a lot of options that were discussed, and the ground team and the team on the ground, we've alluded to it a couple times already, is gigantic. And everybody was working with singular focus on how do we end the Crew 9 mission at the right time and maintain the safety and the success of the space station mission. Launching in September, given all the unique dynamics surrounding this mission, and coming back originally targeting the end of February and hitting the middle of March, that's pretty much on target if you look at the track record of human spaceflight. It's dynamic, it's challenging, the weather doesn't always cooperate, but we figure out how to make it work.
All right, we will take our next question here in the room.
Fox 26 here in Houston. Welcome back to H-Town. Sonny and Butch, both of you all have a long history of being active and athletes, but with that being said, obviously you all spent nearly 9 months in space. What does that recuperation and recovery process look like getting acclimated back here to Earth?
I'll start. I can tell you we have a group of individuals, astronaut strength conditioning and rehabilitation specialists, and we are directly integrated with them day in and day out. They send us protocols to work out, and I can tell you, I'm not as young as I used to be, but I was stronger on space station doing more weight and more reps on exercises than I have in my entire life.
What?
Because this group of professionals work to get us stronger and stronger and stronger. We're trying to minimize muscle atrophy, minimize our bone loss. So if we go to other planets, the moon and other planets, in the foreseeable future, that we will be able to function when we get there. It's a whole science built around this team of individuals that are working to help us better understand human physiology and what zero gravity does to it and how we can mitigate the effects of the bone loss and the muscle atrophy. So day in and day out, I worked out every single day. We went into quarantine on the 22nd of April. And starting on the 22nd of April, I never missed a single day of workout, because your body can recuperate in zero gravity. It doesn't have the normal stresses of gravity. You didn't have a rest day? All the time. So you work out real hard, you hurt for an hour, and it finally fades away, and you're ready to go the next day.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I applaud those individuals. They are making huge gains in the preparation to go beyond low Earth orbit, and it's science that is taking place day in and day out and has for years, and we're still learning, and we're still progressing.
Hello, Ruben.
Yeah, at like day 265 on the ARED, because it counts all your days that you go into a workout, I was thinking, I wish the hay was in the barn. But every single day, just like Butch is saying, you got to get on the machine and work out. And
I wish the hay was in the barn? What does that mean?
There and run or bike or lift weights. It's really great, and the folks that Butch is talking about, is along with the nutritionists, really are looking out for us and making sure that when we get back here to planet Earth with gravity, we'll be able to function. So yeah, it's an adjustment when we get back, and they're here right with us from day one.
How can you lift weights without gravity? I don't get that.
Work on a protocol to get us back, and like I said, I sneakily went for a run yesterday, but that's all as a result of their hard work.
Yeah, I mean, who would even imagine that you come back from 10 months in space, roughly 10 months, and within a week you run 2 miles at an 8-minute pace? I mean, that's not even conceivable that the body could handle that. But these folks get us ready to where those type of things happen.
Okay, we'll take our next question here in the room.
Yes, hello. I'm just wondering, there are a lot of people that depend on jobs here in the aerospace industry in the Houston area, 23,000 total. Wow. In the past, when there have been issues with NASA spacecrafts, there have been delays, and now we have another issue with the Boeing Starliner. Is there any concern that your issues with Boeing may delay future projects, future missions? And what would you say to one of your fellow astronauts before they go up on another test flight?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think we all have alluded to it. There's lessons learned. And that's like a piece of...
You don't need gravity to lift weights. They've got a machine on their internal space station that pushes down and you push up and you strap to it. Interesting.
Go to the moon, we won't have an International Space Station to maybe take a stop at. We really have to get it right. And because of our mission, I think that highlighted some areas where maybe we need to work on and get it right for our fellow astronauts. I think they're encouraged by that, right? You learn and you move on and you get better. And I think that's part of the learning process. It's part of the exploration process.
I mean, we are scheduled on Wednesday to meet with Boeing leadership, the program managers, senior chief engineers, to discuss some of these issues. They want to.
People are saying resistance bands. I guess that makes sense, but sort of doesn't. Work to get hay in the barn. Wish the work was done. That is hay already in the barn. Weights and zero gravity resistant. I don't know what y'all are saying. By the way, there's still 90% gravity. Oh. I didn't know that.
Further and further and further.
We'll take another question here in the room.
I'm Chang from New York Times. This is for all of you. I was just wondering if you could sort of talk about your personal future.
Anyone interested in this sort of subject, there's a YouTube video of a tour of the International Space Station. I want to see that. I'm more interested in that. They're not really saying anything. What's the video called? Tour of International Space Station. Is this it? The Sunday, CBS Sunday Morning. Or is this it? Is that her? That's her, right? Angel Rob, help me out here. Which one is it? I'm guessing this one, since it's got the most views.
Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the International Space Station. So this is Node 2. This is a really cool
So she's been up there a few times.
module. Of course, most of these modules you'll see they have 4 sides, and they're put together. That way we could sort of work on a flat plane, either a wall, a floor, another wall, or the ceiling. But, you know, again, all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is where 4
Look at her chin, it's different. Yeah, it's definitely different.
out of 6 of us sleep. And so people always ask about sleeping in space. Do you lie down? Are you in a bed? Not really, because it doesn't matter. You don't really have the sensation of lying down. You just sit in your sleeping bag. So here's one sleep station right here. I'm going in right now.
Oh, wow.
You can
I didn't even realize that was a bed behind her.
follow me if you want.
Whoa.
So I'm inside. It's sort of like a little phone booth, but it's pretty comfy. I've got a sleeping bag right here that we sleep in, so we don't have sort of like a little bit of a cover. We don't fly all over the place. But you know, you can sleep in any orientation. I have it sleeping, feeling like I'm standing up right now, but like you saw, I'm on the floor. But it doesn't matter if I turn over and I sleep upside down. I can't have it. I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down. So it really doesn't matter.
What does she mean by upside down?
The sleep station is also like a little office. We've got a computer in here. As you can see, we've got a couple little toys. I've got some books. I've got some clothes and other things that make it sort of like home. I'm coming out. And just for reference, that's one sleep station. This one's another. Right.
There's no up or down. Upside down in relation to the floor.
Here. There's one on the ceiling, if you want to call it. Right here.
So right now she's not upside down, is that what you're saying? Even though, just because of the perspective of the cameraman, so if he was to go this way, then it should be right side up. But they've still designed the thing in a sense of like up and down, right? Or no? I'm confused.
And then there's a fourth on the other wall over here. So all of us sleep in a little bit of a circle. All right, come on back. There's more to show you. More to show you.
They all sleep in a circle. That's interesting. Up or down is an earth sensation caused by gravity. On a wall of the space station is a workstation. But the people say, I'm confused. Some of you are saying there's no gravity. Some of you are saying there's still 90% gravity. I don't get it.
I know that there's some questions about how to use the bathroom and how do you actually live in space like normal, like at home. I mentioned real quickly about getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth.
Glue Cement says, going back to Trump's third term, keep in mind the 12th Amendment states a person can't become VP if they are constitutionally ineligible for the office of president. That's interesting. Who said 90%? I swear somebody said 90% gravity. So there's no gravity on the International Space Station, right? Is there any gravity on the ISS? Yes, the International Space Station is constantly experiencing gravity, approximately 90% of Earth's gravity. So there is gravity. So why isn't there an up or down?
And washing your face. Well, how do you do that? Well, here is the bath.
Technically there's gravity, but they have centripetal force that cancels it out. That's the force that slams you down on a roller coaster.
Bathroom, essentially. You get up in the morning and we have a little kit and it has all the essential things that you need, like your toothbrush and toothpaste and brush. See how much better the brush makes my hair look? I'm just joking. It still stands up straight. It doesn't matter where you are. It's always going to stand up straight while
See you, TM. Thanks for joining.
you're up in space. A lot of people ask about toothbrush and toothpaste. So, luckily enough, toothpaste, you can do it upside right this way, is sticky, and so it sticks to your toothbrush. No problem. Another cool thing is that water sticks to your toothbrush too. If you can see it, I'll have some water come out.
Whoa.
The water is pretty neat up in space. It'll stick to your toothbrush and it will make a big bubble. And that's just by surface tension.
So it seems like there is gravity, but because they're orbiting the Earth, the gravity never becomes real or something?
And then you can drink it.
Weird. You hear it go bloop.
So a lot of people ask about what do you do with the toothpaste after you brush your teeth. Two options. Swallow it, and it's sort of like mouthwash, but it tastes a little gross. Or you can just spit it out in a paper towel, and then you don't have to worry about it. Swallowing thing I wouldn't recommend at home. I'm only up here for 4 months, so it's not that bad.
Who's coming in the driveway?
One of the most pressing questions about living in space, of course, is the bathroom. So let's take a look at that little piece of work. Come on in. Here we are at the throne. This is awesome. You might see the little, you might have noticed the little moon on the outside. This is our orbital outhouse right here. And of course, it serves for two functions. Number 2, right here. I'll show you. But you see it's pretty small, so you have to have pretty good aim.
God damn. That's tiny hole. That's a tiny hole.
Be ready to make sure things get let go the right direction. And it smells a little bit, so I'm closing it up. And that's, of course, for number 2. And this guy right here is for number 1.
Oh.
So they're sort of two slightly separate functions, but you can do essentially both by hanging on right here and doing number 1 and number 2. I might add it's color-coded, so you really don't get it mixed up, which is nice. This
God damn, this is gross.
is yellows for number 1. And
this is even a smaller hole for number 1.
And also, there's a selection of paper. People always ask about toilet paper. What do you do with toilet paper? What kind of toilet paper do you have? We have gloves just because sometimes it does get messy.
Yo. That's gross.
We have some Russian wipes, which are a little bit coarse if you like the coarse type of toilet paper.
Of course, Russians have coarse toilet paper.
We have some nice tissues, which are nice and soft if you like soft toilet paper. We have Huggies, just for any cleanup. You know, we were all babies once, and this sort of helps. And then if things get really out of control, we have disinfectant wipes, just to make sure we clean up here. Because, you know, just like the water I showed you, the number 1 stuff can sort of go all over the place if you don't aim correctly. And did I mention both of these have a little bit of suction, so they should keep things going in the right direction. But
that's what I was going to ask. There's got to be some suction involved here, right?
Like I said, sometimes things get a little out of control if you...
Number 1 is recycled and they drink it after purification? No way. I don't believe you, Raymond.
Are out of control yourself flying around, so we have lots of protective stuff. And of course, you do have your privacy. There's a little door.
That ain't a door.
So other people know that you're in there. Here's a pretty cool place. This is sort of like in your house where everybody meets in the morning. After you wash your face, brush your teeth, you want to find something for breakfast. And this is our kitchen. You might notice there's all sorts of foods here. It's like opening the refrigerator. You got all your...
This doesn't seem like a very fun life up in space.
Your different stuff that you want to have, drinks, meats.
She looks extremely young in this. Yeah, this was posted at least 12 years ago, so she's at least 12 years younger.
Eggs, vegetables, cereals, bread, snacks.
All right, let's do a poll. Would you want to live on the ISS? Would you want to live on the ISS? We're doing a poll.
And that's a good place. That's where you find all the candy. Side dishes, and then some little power bars just in case. So we have all this type of food. Some of it is dehydrated, and so we have to hydrate it, fill it up with water.
Rich says, "How do we go there for a month?" No, you either go there or you don't. No time limit.
Some of it.
Well, let's say your typical, whatever the typical time length is, they live on there, like 4 months. She said.
Is all ready made.
Sketcher Hitter says never on Twitch. So they say never, but I'm sure they probably love it since it's such a rare thing. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to say that you've lived on the International Space Station. I saw this movie a year or two ago. ISS movie. Anybody see this movie? Yeah. It wasn't very good. Anybody else see this movie? Thumbs up if you've seen this movie. Thumbs down if you haven't. Came out last January. Anybody else on Twitch? Is my Twitch working? Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. I guess it is.
And then all we have to do is heat it up. So something like this, I'm pulling out barbecued beef brisket. Pretty yummy. Not only is this food made in the US, but we also have food here from Japan. We've got Russian food. As you can see, all these red containers are filled with food that's from Russia.
The red to avoid. Don't eat the Russian food. No, I'm kidding.
And then we get some of our specialty stuff, some things that we like, some of our favorite stuff that your family can send up. In fact, I like fluffernutters, and so I got sent up some fluff so I could make my fluffernutter with peanut butter. So you have a lot of food up here, no problems.
It's the last day on board the space station. We'll be undocking in a couple hours and returning home. It's been an absolutely incredible mission, and I'm going to miss the space station. The space station is just an amazing place to live and to work. Let's take one last tour down the space station and see what I'm leaving. So right now I'm in node 2 at the very front end. Our Dragon is docked above us up here. That's where we'll be departing from. To my left, I've got the European Columbus module. To my right, it's the Japanese Kiba module, and then the rest of the space station is straight ahead. So let's fly down through the space station. We're now in the US lab, where we have a whole bunch of equipment, including our exercise bike. On the right, we have our robotics workstation, where we can control our robotic arm from. And then we get to node 1, which is our kitchen, where we eat dinner. Attached to node 1 is also the airlock, where we do EVAs from. And on the right is node 3, where we have our toilet, our treadmill, our ARED strength exercise machine, and of course, cupola. Let's go have a quick look at cupola. And this is the world's...
Raymond says, Sam, astronauts' urine and sweat are almost entirely recycled into drinking water with this new system. The end result, says NASA, is that the crew is drinking water that is even cleaner than Earth's. Interesting. ISS tour weightlifting. Let's do that one. ISS tour. Oops. This one? Every big city on Earth recycles. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. That every other big city on Earth recycles not good drinking water into good drinking water.
Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the International Space Station. It's like a glass-bottom boat. This is the cupola. It sticks down below the space station. It's one of those places you find yourself hanging out in all the time because all you want to do is look back at our planet. I think some questions I had were about what do you do in your free time? And you can't help but want to just come to the cupola and look outside as much as you can. And a lot of folks, I play this game with myself about where we're flying over the Earth. Try to come in here and just guess after being here for
How can you guess? All you see are clouds.
a little while. You can sort of figure it out. You can tell different cloud types over different continents. You can tell different soil types over different continents.
That's cool.
So let's see. And then, of course, there's a lot of ocean. So usually we're over the ocean at first glance. I will tell you in just a moment where we are.
VKM says Geoguesser becomes Space Guesser. That's that's actually cool.
What? There we go. So right now we are right over Africa. It's a little bit cloudy, as you can tell. But we're right over the continent of Africa.
That's cool as hell.
Hey, what's that?
Rescues.
I think that's a Soyuz spacecraft. That's the spacecraft that's taken us home to planet Earth today. Oh my gosh. We might have to go take a look at that. That's pretty cool. It's a little bit smaller than the rest of the spacecraft, the space station, so you'll see if we go there, it'll be a little bit more crammed. But we're going, you can look all the way back to the back of the spacecraft, which is where the Russian segment is, and then you could look all the way forward to the front of the spacecraft, where the Japanese laboratory.
I wonder how much of Africa she can see right now, like the whole continent, or like how much of it?
European laboratory and the American laboratory are, and then back to the solar arrays where we started this morning when we were looking out the Japanese window.
See, like to me, that's down. That way is down towards Earth. Whatever towards Earth is, that's down. I'm also an idiot when it comes to this stuff, so I'm probably just speaking gibberish.
So other questions that were here are, what would you recommend as a job, if so, and to what type of person would want to be an astronaut?
But yes, but you don't feel this down. So what do you feel? You just feel not just totally weightless? I guess the answer is yes. I can't even wrap my mind around how that might feel.
I think people who would like to explore, of course, people who like math and science, that's what this is all about. We have people in the office who are doctors, teachers, veterinarians, engineers, pilots. So all sorts of people become astronauts. And I think if you see, it's just sort of cool. So I think people who like to do a little adventure and like to do cool stuff probably usually become astronauts. Hey, one thing I didn't show you, or I talked about but I didn't show you, was the exercise, another piece of exercise device, which is the advanced resistive exercise, and that's what this is right here. This is ARED, and you could probably see this bar.
Have I ever skydived? I have not.
You just do a little bit of maneuvering here. Stand by. You have to set it up just like at any other gym.
ISS can only see about 3% of the whole Earth's surface. Africa is about 6% of the total world area. So they can see like half of Africa. Is that what you're saying? Is that the math on that?
Hold on. Show you how this works. So you can see you can change your attitude just by going from one.
Basically, you're falling right now, but the matter under your butt prevents you from falling deeper. You're falling. You're not falling, you're just being pulled to a surface. That's different than falling, right?
one module to the next, going up from the cupola down here. This is what we call the A-red. And with this, you can lift weights. Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Based on vacuum in these cylinders, just like you do at home at a gym. For example, if I wanted to do a squat, I could do it like this. Oops. I should need some weight on this thing. I'm not lifting with anything, so it's too easy.
That didn't look like a very effective squat.
One of the cool things you could do things that you can't do at home. For example, single leg squats with just one leg, because the other leg, you won't fall over. So all sorts of stuff. You can also do bench press. We have a bench that we could add on here.
You are in a constant state of falling towards the earth cold. That's what we call gravity. But I don't know. It feels like falling is different definitionally. But maybe I'm wrong.
So you can work on your beach muscles.
To me, it feels not like, I don't know. To me, falling feels like when you're falling, there's nothing under you. As soon as there's something like the earth or a chair, you're no longer, that's not falling, that's just gravity. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking off the top of my head right now.
Hey, Aki.
Falling versus pulling, right? That's sort of what I'm thinking.
What are you doing down there?
Crashing things.
This is one of the cool things about space too. It sort of looks like there's a big old hole here, but you don't even think twice about it. You could just jump over the hole, or if you want, you can go jump into the hole.
Smaller objects being pulled towards larger objects. That's how I see it.
I'm coming down. Woo! Then you can come right back up again, like Superman.
You're falling towards Earth, but the speed with which the Earth spins is greater. Therefore, you constantly are in this state. That is the explanation, I believe. Rich says that's before Einstein came along. Oh, I don't know. Again, science and physics is not my forte, as you can tell. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back in about 30 to 45 minutes.
I'm done. This is where Anne feels most comfortable. But when she started to feel uncomfortable, this is the MedStar Health Urgent Care team that stepped in and consulted with a specialist, then connected her to a leading cardiologist that diagnosed her blocked artery that could be unblocked with life-saving surgery that allowed Anne to heal more quickly, getting her back to where her heart belongs. MedStar Health, it's how we treat people.
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests. streams and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our hit different is mods, giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
dinner with the boss, it's no time to think about your pants. You've got bigger fish to fry, my friend. You've got the world on your shoulders, but you can't let them see you sweat. Your pants are a top priority because they should be your last. Dockers, always a fit.
Dear Dr. Ng, my missing teeth isolated me from the world. It was hard to meet new people and even harder to see the people I loved. I trusted Clear Choice, and you gave me back my smile and my confidence in one day. Now I can let go of my past and focus on my future. Because life is too short to not smile. Thank you.
You're welcome. You deserve it.
Get the smile you want from the #1 provider of fixed full-arch dental implants in the U.S. Schedule a free consultation.
There's only one tropical rainforest in the U.S. It's right.
This is Wix Studio, built to meet any brief. When your project calls for bold creativity, design freely on Figma and seamlessly move to Studio, where your vision takes shape. Wix Studio, built for the way you create.
Instead of just asking, how can we treat Leo's ankle? At MedStar Health, we ask, how can we get Leo the exact care he needs at our urgent care? Care that quickly gets him in for an on-site x-ray, that shows he needs an orthopedic specialist, that joins him for a video consult. That means he doesn't have to miss his very important afternoon appointment. How we help Leo get back to his life is about so much more than how we treat his ankle. MedStar Health, it's how we treat people.
the bidding at 5.
Robinhood Gold members get an IRA transfer boost of 2%. When you transfer in an IRA or old 401k by April 30th, Robinhood Gold will boost it by 2%.
I'm back. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Somehow I lost the Twitch stream. Cool. Twitch is annoying, man. I feel like I haven't seen anything on Twitch that's been worth my while so far. Welcome back. Thank you, Yenny. I'm still eating a little bit. I'm drinking a protein shake. Let's see, what were people talking about before or while I was gone? And I got a banana. A nana. I don't want to chew into the mic. In this poll, 74% don't want to be on the internet, don't want to live on the International Space Station. People are saying, I should end the stream instead of taking a break? Is that what people are saying? Thank you, Rich. Rich said I don't mind a little music. Yeah, the issues with starting over is like, especially on YouTube. Twitch is different, but on YouTube you have to make a new thumbnail, make a new title. I mean, maybe that's better. I don't know. Why is my screen so yellow? It's supposed to auto white balance, but it's not. Should I do a poll? Should I end stream and come back, or just go on break? End stream or just and come back, or just go on, or just put break screen up. End stream, come back, break screen. Is that a bong behind me? No, it's a oil lamp. I don't know. I'm also sick of Twitch, kind of. Like, unless you're like a Twitch partner, they downgrade your quality. So you have to stream at a lower quality. I get like 1 or 2 viewers on Twitch. I get spam on Twitch. It's always buggy. Stefan says Pac-Man believes third Trump term is not going to happen. I said the same thing. I said it's not going to happen. I said they're going to make a lot of noise about it, but it's not going to happen. Can you show us your dog, Sam? Yes, 1 second. Let me go get him. Maybe ASMR people are liking all this drinking and eating. There he is. Say hi, Bubby. Say hi to the people. Say hi, I'm Kiko. Oh, he wants to go. All right. Ah. That's all you guys get right now, I guess. He heard something outside and wanted to skedaddle. Quick pup sesh. Thank you, Library Jesse, for the donation. I left my Hogwarts message on yesterday's video. All right, let me see if I can find that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
What is
Hey, Geoguesser King Spider Slam. I still had trouble posting the comment with the link to Hogwarts Legacy cinematic tour. If you type into YouTube, relaxing, blah, 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 it's by the YouTube channel Daydream Gaming. Okay. Yenny, I appreciate that donation. Buy him some treats. That's so nice of you. All right, let me look this up. Relaxing cinematic tour, blah 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 blah. It's by the YouTube channel Daydream Gaming. Here it is. You can use this for breaks when you're not at the helm. That's a good idea. Mr. Mojo the man says, my Trump family members say Vance will pick Trump as his VP. Sure hope not. Library wants to put me to sleep. It's true. Yeah, I really like this game a lot. Hogwarts Legacy. 5 hours videos. That's right. But we won't get boggled down to that. But I do like this. Let me share it to my own channel so I can remember and like it. Here's an interesting video from Patriot Takes on Blue Sky. Let's check it out.
Diesler. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. My name's Ekaterina Diesler. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I did exactly what Elon Musk told everyone to do. Sign a petition, refer friends and family, vote, and now I have $1 million.
What?
My name.
She actually won $1 million. In the video posted by Elon Musk PAC, a $1 million check recipient linked to voting to receive. My name is. That's crazy. She actually won $1 million. Hello, Matthew. Schimmel is German for mold. Where do you see Schimmel?
My name's Ekaterina Diesler. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I did exactly what Elon Musk told everyone to do. Sign a petition, refer friends and family, vote, and now I have $1 million.
That's wild, dude. Oh, vote Schimmel. Oh, the guy. That's the Supreme Court guy. Midas Touch did something about this. Do we think it's real? Schimmel also means a white horse. Here's the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. I mean, that's pretty. People magazine. There it is. I guess it is real. This happened yesterday. That's crazy, man. That can't be. That's just not right. Elon Musk left in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Crazy. How is that legal? I don't know. I don't understand it either. I mean, obviously I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard lawyers say it is legal somehow. That's crazy.
All right, so let's.
Is getting for, with all of the attention Musk is getting for his Wisconsin appearance, it would be a fair question to ask whether he's overshadowing the candidates themselves. As 12 News' Nick Bohr reports, they're both crisscrossing the state today, trying to capture the spotlight just 2 days before the election.
Who wants to help me win an election?
Judge Susan Crawford speaking to supporters Sunday afternoon at the Mequon Public Market.
My opponent has said that he wants to be on the court to provide.
Now that's a Wisconsin accent, folks. Hell yeah. Okay, 79% said they want the break screen. All right, we'll go with the break screen. My vote is based on who has the most Wisconsin accent, okay?
A supportive network for Donald Trump. That's very partisan. It's not what our Supreme Court is for.
Crawford said Musk's presence in the campaign's final days is inescapable, bristling that someone she's never met is suggesting she'd rule on cases based on her personal opinions.
This pledge that people sign about activist judges, that judges shouldn't bring their own opinions to the table. I mean, do you find that offensive? How does that personally make you feel when someone's paying for this type of a pledge that obviously assumes that's what you would do?
Right. Well, I believe judges should be fair and impartial. And Elon Musk has never spoken to me. He knows nothing about my record.
Brad Schimmel spent the evening here in Fond du Lac mobilizing voters.
In where? That's a Wisconsin sounding town name. Fond du Lac. Gotta love it.
And supporters. Notably, Schimmel decided to skip the appearance of Elon Musk just up the road about an hour here, but he did say he's happy to have his endorsement and that of President Trump.
Hello, Brad. It's your favorite president.
Crowding into the bar at a Fond du Lac roller rink, Schimmel recounted a conversation with Trump a little over a week ago as he urged supporters on.
Because if we don't win this on Tuesday, our next chance is not till 2028. The leftists on the court will have had 5 years to kick our teeth in. We will not recognize our state when we get to the end of that 5 years. We have to do.
He also has a pretty good Wisconsin accent. So on my criteria, I don't know who to vote for. They both got pretty good accents.
This on Tuesday.
After greeting supporters, Schimmel said he would judge cases based only on the law.
I have always followed the law. Let the legislators make that. I've never run for legislative office. I don't want to run for legislative office, and I don't want to do their job.
In Fond du Lac.
Guys, I hate to break it to you. I have to go to the bathroom. Oops. Now I need that Harry Potter thing back. Oh, damn it. I know I just took a break, but I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh my gosh. I gotta go bad. Where did that go? What did I do with that? Oh, liked videos. Okay. Okay.
And we're back with the tea on a Metro deal you won't want to miss.
Be back in a bit, guys. Sorry. I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. You know, when it calls, it calls. You know what I mean? Nothing you can do about that. Seems like people didn't like the... Let me see. Would you rather have... Which do you prefer? Hogwarts? Music? All right. So, where were we? What was I looking up before I left? I can't remember now. Damn it. What was I researching before I left? Researching. Oh, Wisconsin, right. Sorry for the delay, folks, but I'm back.
Hall event that Gabe mentioned. Well, let's get more on that Wisconsin town hall event that Gabe mentioned with NBC News reporter Julia Jester. Julia, good morning.
Julia
so first off, just
Jester,
set
wow.
the scene for us ahead of tomorrow's state Supreme Court election. What is at stake here? Why is it so important, even if you don't live in this state?
Well, Savannah, this is shaping up to be the most expensive state judge race in U.S. history.
Crazy. That's a crazy stat.
And that is because it will determine the balance of power in the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which could affect issues like abortion and redistricting and any case that comes here in this key battleground state. So you have conservative Brad Schimmel and liberal Susan.
America, where your vote matters X times if you're from X place and minus X times if you're from Y place. Gotta love it.
Crawford raking in all of these donations from Elon Musk on the Republican side and George Soros and Governor J.B. Pritzker on the...
That guy sucks. What's this guy's name again? He's the former governor of Wisconsin. He's just like such a blech, such a dweeb. Kara Swisher's coverage of Elon Musk is super interesting. Her basic question of Elon's issue is what happened to him. Elon didn't used to be this unhinged. Interesting. Brad something. Governors of Wisconsin. Scott Walker. This guy sucks ass. Look at his face. Doesn't his face just piss you off?
Elon Musk on the Republican side and George Soros and Governor J.B. Pritzker on the Democratic side. And so they're really making this race a national one with quite the implications beyond the borders of Wisconsin, Savannah.
What did we hear from Elon Musk yesterday? And how do voters in Wisconsin generally feel about his influence, what he's been doing at Doge, the fact that he's spending this time in their state?
Well, Savannah, in 2025, we are quite used to local state elections kind of being nationalized, but last night may have been the first time they were globalized, with Elon Musk saying that this could determine the future of the world. Now, for a town hall that was supposed to be about Wisconsin, we didn't really hear much about the state. Instead, voters were asking...
Oh, this is interesting. Elon Musk and Doge popularity among registered voters. 53% view Musk favorably. Oh, unfavorably. Sorry. That's a key difference. Unfavorably. Good. Thank God. I was about to cry, literally.
Asking about Doge, and here in Wisconsin, a recent poll showed that registered voters view Elon Musk unfavorably. A majority of them do. Yay. But last night, the ones in the room couldn't have been more supportive of the actions of Doge. But there was one questioner who asked when Doge checks might be coming. Musk kind of dodged that one, saying it would be up to the president and Congress. But beyond that, he hit several topics.
Oh, they're already walking back the Doge checks? Come on, Elon. You promised those checks, bro.
From the attacks on Tesla cars, the quote expensive job that he's doing here in Washington that's really costing his companies. And at one point he even shouted, "End the Fed," saying that a magic 8-ball would be better at predicting interest rates or handling those than the Federal Reserve. So quite a wide-ranging event there, Savannah and Joe.
Yeah. Julia, also, I mean, we saw this moment where Musk hands out these $2 million checks at the event to attendees. Tell us about the legal questions that particular issue is raising and how people there are reacting to that.
What's up with the cheese hat? Wisconsinites, they're big on cheese, and the Green Bay Packers, like, their fans wear cheese heads. It's just kind of a Wisconsin thing. TM, I'm still live, baby.
Yeah, so this legal saga began when Musk announced the event, and he said that he would be giving out those two $1 million checks to those for, quote, appreciation for taking the time to vote. Now, he deleted that post and later clarified that the checks would be to become spokespeople for his petition against activist judges. So kind of doing a little bit cleanup there, but it was a little too late for the Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul here in Wisconsin, who sued to block Musk from giving out those checks, arguing it violated Wisconsin state law, which said that you cannot offer anything of value in exchange for somebody's vote. Now, he appealed that all the way up to the state Supreme Court, believe it or not, where all of this is kind of at stake here. And they declined to hear the case at the 11th hour last night, right before the event started. And so, as we've all seen, the checks were given out. And
just because they declined the case doesn't mean it's legal, right?
And it will remain to be seen if it becomes an issue in the future. But
yeah, this race is tomorrow, and we'll be covering it probably on tomorrow's show, Lichtman Live, that is.
I spoke with voters on both sides of the aisle. There were a lot of protesters out there yesterday as well. And here's what they had to say about the look and the optics of offering up to $1 million to vote in this election. Here's what they told me.
Do you feel like Musk's $1 million giveaway is bribing an election?
No, absolutely not. I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I think it becomes a problem when things aren't transparent.
We are tired of Elon Musk and Trump and the oligarchy they are creating for our nation. He's trying to buy the election.
It's appalling to me personally. It's election bribery at its base, and it should not be allowed.
So Elon Musk has spent his time, his X posts online, and his money in this race. And we will find out tomorrow whether Musk's influence will help or hurt the conservative in this state Supreme Court election, Savannah.
Thanks for watching.
It seems like it has to be illegal. I don't understand the fact that so the Supreme Court didn't. I don't want to go back to that part. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. They didn't take it. So then, what was the ruling? What was the last ruling? Shouldn't that just be the ruling?
A little bit cleanup there, but it was a little too late for the Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul here in Wisconsin, who sued to block Musk from giving out those checks, arguing it violated Wisconsin state law, which said that you cannot offer anything of value in exchange for somebody's vote. Now, he appealed that all the way up to the state Supreme Court, believe it or not, where all of this is kind of at stake here, and they declined to hear the case at the 11th hour last night, right before the event.
Pussies. I'm sorry. I don't usually say that word, but they should have taken it up. The lower court ruled that it was legal somehow. That's crazy. Maybe because he found some sort of loophole to it. Not good. They should have taken it up. My computer's hot.
Wick.
I want to watch this video too. We followed this last week. This student at Tufts or wherever she was.
Are taking all of this. John, you know Wisconsinites better than any. All right, let's talk about how Wisconsinites are taking all of this. John, you know Wisconsinites better than anyone.
What's my March Madness prediction? I got Duke winning it all. I got Florida and Duke in the finals, and I got Duke winning it all. This is only the second time ever all number 1 seeds have been in the Final Four. If you guys didn't know that, fun fact. Happened in 2008, I believe, and now.
Really. How do they feel about Elon Musk spending this much money? How do they feel about this race now being the most expensive race in history? It's not just Elon Musk. Democrats are also spending a lot of money, although the money is a bit more diverse than just...
Sam, do you know why the background Allan has like duplicates of every book? Because they send him a bunch of books, and I guess he just stores them back there. I don't know.
One man. How's it going over?
People are disgusted. There's no question of that. They have seen more negative ads than in anything but the kind of the worst moments of the presidential.
Stefan said, imagine the Dems did this. Exactly.
Race. The television airwaves are literally filled with ads saying that both candidates are essentially evil. And the mailings are flying at a level that you can't believe. What's happened is that people have gone into their camps. I think that for Democrats and progressives, and remember, this is a nonpartisan race officially, but for Democrats and progressives, they're very excited about Susan Crawford, who is a judge, a longtime prosecutor, somebody who they see as a person of the law, who, if this person got elected, would keep a progressive majority on the court. For the Republicans, of course, they like their candidate, Brad Schimmel, a longtime Republican politician who is very, very enthusiastic about Donald Trump. The thing that's really shaken the race up and made it different than some of the previous Supreme Court races in Wisconsin, which have had their partisan edge, is that Elon Musk has inserted himself into the race. Not recently. He started doing this in January. And the fascinating thing about it is he doesn't know Wisconsin.
I mean, it's still pretty recent. It's not like he's been following this for a while.
At all. He literally at one point in this nonpartisan race where the words Republican and Democrat aren't on the ballot said vote for the Republican. Yesterday, he referred to Brad Schimmel, who is not a Supreme Court justice, as Justice Schimmel. And so you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? And I think a lot of Wisconsinites are. The answer is that Elon Musk wants a right-wing court in Wisconsin. He thinks that will be beneficial to Donald Trump at the national level. And frankly, Elon Musk has a lawsuit in Wisconsin trying to overturn some Wisconsin laws as regards the selling of vehicles like Teslas. And there are certainly progressives, people like Susan Crawford, who have speculated that he wouldn't mind having a court that was friendly to his business.
Cornell, the Democrats are trying to go after Elon Musk in this race, and even Schimmel didn't appear with Elon Musk at this event in Green Bay over the weekend. Is that the successful tactic here to make this about Elon Musk, not necessarily about Donald Trump?
Look, I think the conservatives are going to look at what Elon Musk is doing here and think, you know, this was a race that we like our chances better if one of a deeply unpopular.
Do I think the Dems can win that Florida seat tomorrow? It's unlikely. I feel like that's a pretty red district, but they're doing a lot better than people think. But I don't think it's going to turn into a dub for the Dems.
Billionaire does not Bigfoot his way into this race and become the center of this race, right? He is literally overshadowing all the other issues, and even the candidate, as the last panelist was talking about here. And let's look, you know, Elon Musk is someone who, in our own NBC polling, is shown to be unpopular in particular.
I'm going to do a quick donation goal, folks. For the next 15 minutes, if you donate, I'd much appreciate it. The goal has started. Maryland is like really hot today, unheard of for March. It is warm today. Yeah, I don't know how unheard of it is. I mean, it happens sometimes in DC area. It gets warm. So there's the days in February as it gets warm. Do you think this would be a good opportunity for you to go back to law school? You'd make a great attorney. No, I'm not going to law school. No. Too much time, energy, and money. And the law profession right now is not a great profession to get into. Nah, no law school for me.
Particularly unpopular with the middle of the road voters.
Dennis, you're the man. Dennis, you're the man.
To a certain extent, he symbolizes the story that many Democrats want to drive. The narrative they want to drive is that this is a government, and the Republicans are people. They want.
What is this belt buckle he's wearing? What is that? It looks like some face of some monster. All right, see you later, Dennis. I gotta check out this belt buckle. Let's see if we can get a good picture of it. Lawyers always make good money no matter what. Yeah, but it's not always about money, folks. And it costs a lot of money to become a lawyer. Oh, maybe it's not a face. What is that belt buckle? We need a large, high quality image, folks. This is belt buckle gate. Hashtag BBG. Sam makes money playing Geoguesser. I probably made from that Geoguesser stream, I don't know, $20. Not a lot. Okay, maybe this will do. Everybody put hashtag BBG in the chat. Hashtag belt bucklegate. Oh, it's a star. Why does it look like... Oh, I see the star now. But like, here's the... okay. It's just a star. He's all Texas. He's all Texas now. He's got to wear the star bell buckles and... All right. I feel like a bit of a cringy fashion choice, but... I'm not going to judge. I'm not I'm not a fashion icon either, so I'm not going to judge.
Drive is that this is a government, and the Republicans are people who are owned and operate by and for the very wealthy and special interests of this country. You know, he completely encapsulates.
Thank you, TM, for putting BBG in the chat. Belt buckle gate.
That. So, Katie, what possibly could go wrong when the person that the narrative that Democrats want to drive, the person who better encapsulates that has, made his way into the race and is actually overshadowing the more conservative candidate, because to that point, it's not a Dem versus Republican race, at least not on the ballot.
It's not just Elon Musk, and we can talk about larger issues here, but we've now had more than 2 months of Donald Trump, and I listed them at the top of the show, all of the ways that he's trying to remake government, all the moves he's made. They've been fast and furious, to use a cliche. One of the big things, Christine, is tariffs. Tariffs are really eating into people's optimism for the future, I think we can say, before they're eating into paychecks. The tariffs with Canada, the tariffs with Europe, China, Mexico, the retaliatory tariffs. How might that play in Wisconsin?
It might play in Wisconsin, the retaliation, because this is what a trade war is. The United States puts on tariffs, and then you get all of these threats.
All right, we know about tariffs, folks. I want to hear about this student.
What can disqualify you from getting a life
Masked secret police were caught on camera kidnapping a college student for her political views.
Crazy.
You'd probably think that it was happening in some foreign country run by a dictator. But this was the scene on Tuesday night, not in a foreign country, right here in America.
BBG is, I don't know if I want to say that, Ruth. I'm going to skip that for now.
America, in fact, in Massachusetts, the birthplace of the American Revolution. That is where a Tufts University PhD student and a Fulbright scholar was.
Damn, she was a Fulbright scholar?
Abducted. Rumaisa Öztürk had just left her apartment to attend a dinner, breaking her Ramadan fast, when all of a sudden she was approached by a guy in a dark hoodie and a hat who then grabs her hands, and you can see and hear how upset and scared she was as an officer finally pulls out a badge.
There's no way that's protocol like that. To approach somebody with a hoodie and a mask. I don't know if this guy's wearing a mask, but like hooded, no uniform, and grab their hands.
Scared she was as an officer finally pulls out a badge and appears to identify himself as law enforcement.
Oh, he did pull out a badge, I guess. I don't know.
Within seconds, she is surrounded by half a dozen cops, all in street clothes and all covering their faces with masks.
Pussies. I know I don't say that very often. Show us your face, motherfuckers.
They take her cell phone, physically remove her backpack. And her crime, you'd think that this was somebody really wanted by the government, someone dangerous, but her crime appears to be co-authoring an op-ed in the school newspaper back in 2024. The piece cites Tufts University's 1989 decision to divest from apartheid South Africa as part of an international boycott against that racist regime. She calls on the university to divest in the modern era from Israel due to the International Court of Justice finding Israel plausibly committing genocide. And for that opinion, for that op-ed, Öztürk was essentially kidnapped off the street.
That's so messed up.
She was sent to a detention center in Louisiana, with the Trump administration now hoping to deport her out of the country. If it sounds familiar, it is. In fact, it is a similar story to that of Mahmoud Khalil of Columbia University. And it happened to a...
I feel like it's even worse. Because all she did was write an op-ed. He was leading certain protests. I'm not saying either is justified. Both are unjustified, let me be clear. But I feel like hers is even worse.
Number of other foreign students across the country, again, with no evidence made to the public. The Department of Homeland Security is accusing her of engaging in activities in support of Hamas.
Give me a break, dude. Come on.
You know what? Her op-ed didn't even mention Hamas. While DHS carries out the abductions, it is the Secretary of State who's officially making the call on who and why these students are abducted off of the streets and tried to be deported. This was how Marco Rubio explained his abduction on Tuesday.
Oh, we revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities,
Oh, come on, bro. She had nothing to do with any vandalism.
harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a
I don't think she had anything to do with taking over any buildings.
ruckus.
Bunch of BS from Rubio.
We're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa.
And to be clear, there's absolutely no evidence that this young woman has engaged in any of the activity that Marco Rubio has just talked about.
Yeah.
She has not been charged with any crime from the Department of Justice or any prosecutors. Keep in mind that Republicans have been pretending throughout all of this to be the champions of free speech in America for the past few years. In fact, this was Marco Rubio at CPAC back in 2022.
There's now a speech code, right? Every single person in this room. And
Look, if you believe that Republicans and Marco Rubio and they're about free speech, you have no idea what reality is. I'm not saying Dems are better or the left it doesn't have their own transgressions, but if you believe these people are really about free speech, you don't live in the reality that we all live in.
The overwhelming majority of people that you know are one word away. It didn't matter if you're 13 years old when you said it. You're one word, you're one statement, you're one retweet, you're one like away from destroying your life. There are kids in America that have had their admissions to a college revoked. There are now certain things that you're not allowed to say on a college campus.
Wow.
Got him. Pretty clear.
But beyond the hypocrisy of Marco Rubio, there's another huge flaw in what the Trump administration is actually arguing here. They're citing a rarely used Cold War law that says that a Secretary of State can deport non-citizens if their activities pose a potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequence. First of all,
wait, what?
And what the Trump administration is actually arguing here. They're citing a rarely used Cold War law that says that a Secretary of State can deport non-citizens if their activities pose a potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequence.
What does that even mean?
First of all, it's obviously laughable that student protesters or op-eds in student newspapers pose a serious threat to U.S. foreign policy.
That's so broad, right? You could say that anybody is posing a threat to foreign policy. I mean, that's a bad law.
Honestly, we'd be much better off if these protests actually had any kind of impact on our foreign policy. But there's another huge flaw in what Marco Rubio and, by extension, Donald Trump are saying. The Columbia student encampments, which Mahmoud Khalil was a part of, they actually took place in the spring of 2024. You know who was president at the time? Joe Biden was the president. Rumaisa Öztürk's op-ed, that was published March 26 of 2024. That was when Joe Biden was president. So think about this argument for a second. Is Marco Rubio seriously arguing that the Trump administration is abducting and attempting to deport these students for undermining Joe Biden's foreign policy? Didn't Donald Trump oppose Joe Biden's foreign policy? Didn't Marco Rubio? I know I certainly did on this show.
That's a good point. The dates matter.
Oh? So what's really going on here? Why are these...
I don't know. I just think that just the writing of that law is horrific. Like, that law could be twisted, as they're doing it now, twisted to do whatever you want.
Students being targeted. It's pro-Israel groups such as Canary Mission, Betar US, and the Miriam Adelson-backed Maccabi Task Force that are behind these abductions. And they're proud of it. Betar US is described in today's Washington Post as a militant Zionist group that's been around for a century. They are so extreme that even the Anti-Defamation League, which supports the detention.
Kim Jong-Trump, yeah. Master said it's funny because all these so-called leaders aren't thinking about the long-term legacy, especially for Marco because he will run again, and he need to explain his actions after the Trump term. That's a good point.
Attention of Mahmoud Khalil. They list Betar as a hate group that openly embraces Islamophobia and harasses Muslims online and in person. But it's not just Muslims that...
Library Justice said, I'm very dedicated to marry Trump. And she was talking about giving back one of her degrees because she also went to Columbia. I mean, that's an extreme move, but I mean, Columbia seems to be messing up big time recently.
Betar attacks. In February, Betar targeted Jewish professor and author Peter Beinart, posting on X that if anyone sees Beinart on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, they should give him a pager. Sick stuff. Beinart responded, oppose my ideas all you want, but when you urge people in my neighborhood to give me a pager in the wake of Israel's pager attacks in Lebanon, that sounds like a death threat.
It does sound like that.
This is the militant group that took credit for Mahmoud Khalil's abduction and claims it has sent thousands more names to Trump officials. This is the kind of group aiding the Trump administration in what Massachusetts Congressman Stephen Lynch and New York Congressman Dan Goldman both compared to Gestapo-like conduct, referring to the Nazi secret police.
That's a sad comparison for a Jewish organization to be compared to.
But these Gestapo tactics aren't happening in a foreign country, not in a bygone era. They are happening right here in the United States today. And the Trump administration is promising more to come unless we do something about it. Masa Kanbabi is Rumaisa Ozturk's attorney. She joins me now. Masa, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, as Rumaisa's lawyer, has the government been honoring her right to an attorney? Have you had a chance to speak to her, to access her throughout this ordeal? What can you tell us about where she is and how she's doing this evening?
Good evening, Ayman. Thank you for having me on today. Unfortunately, it's been difficult, to be honest, to communicate with my client.
And what about due process? Why does due process not exist for these people? I mean, maybe because she's on a student visa and extradition laws and et cetera, but I don't know. Just seems crazy.
We had incredible difficulty at first in even finding her. It took nearly 24 hours to learn that she was in Louisiana, despite the judge's order not to remove her from the state. And then it took another 24 hours to be able to communicate, the same 24 hours to communicate with her then. And she was incredibly exhausted. It was difficult to speak with her. And even since then, it's been difficult to talk with her by phone. She's unable to give me a call when she normally should have the authorization to call me. So we are concerned about what conditions she's facing in the detention center and her ability to reach out to family and counsel.
Let's talk about the, underlying principle of her detention per the American government, this administration, and this point that I made in the introduction about how disingenuous it is for Marco Rubio to be claiming that these students were somehow undermining American foreign policy when the conduct in question actually occurred under President Biden. Is it just a case of them being disingenuous? Or might that hypocrisy actually help the students in the court system?
I mean, I think it's absolutely ironic that the Secretary of State was talking about, we're one word away, when the one words away that Rumaisa was the equal dignity and humanity of all people. That's what she wrote.
Yeah, I saw the stuff that she wrote. It's nothing about it is pro-Hamas or against American foreign policy, except for maybe you could argue, I don't know, America is so pro-Israel. It's bullshit. I'm not even go there.
In her op-ed. And then to try to backdate, to retroactively apply someone's speech is just absolutely unconstitutional. I've never seen anything like this before. In fact, one of my neighbors was telling me.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this before. Again, the Mahmoud thing I haven't followed as closely, so I'm not sure. But this seems even crazier to me.
Today, I feel like we're on a different planet.
Have you heard of any Marylanders having missing people from ICE? No. I've heard stories of people seeing ICE, but nothing specific.
This doesn't feel like Earth.
Yeah, it seriously does not feel. It certainly does not feel like America, as far as I've known it.
The way he just goes up to her and grabs her hands like that, it's like, what the heck?
All of these abductions of these students, foreign students, including Mahmoud Khalil, who is a permanent resident here, have led to questions about who in America has what rights and who the Constitution protects.
Right, that's what I was just talking about, due process.
To show you and our audience a clip of former Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, a conservative icon, who was asked specifically about the First Amendment and who that applies to. Take a look.
To whom does the First Amendment apply? Do undocumented immigrants have the 5 freedoms?
Oh, I think so. I think anybody who's present in the United States has protections under the United States Constitution.
One of the most conservative justices in this country's history. And in this case, he was talking about undocumented immigrants. Just to be clear, undocumented immigrants having these rights.
I wish they would have played that clip longer.
Your client has a student visa, was here legally, Mahmoud Khalil here legally. What residence, in your interpretation, what rights do people have here on student visas when it comes to the issue of free speech or other sanctioned activities?
I absolutely agree with the former Supreme Court. And obviously, students are here to learn. They're here to communicate, to advocate, and in fact, Rumesa was a teacher. She's an educator, and it's all about communication, learning from one another, getting to know one another. And actually, that's one of the biggest reasons I fear that we're having these problems in America, is because people are afraid of one another. We don't have the opportunity to get to know each other and learn from one another, and to then accept what people have to say. And we might not agree with it. And in fact, that's why Rumesa's been targeted. We talk about free speech, but when it comes to free speech about Palestine and the genocide that we're seeing right now, it's a different story. If she were advocating for Ukrainians or climate change or reproductive women's rights, would this have happened to her now?
No, of course not.
Probably not.
No way.
But unfortunately, on the track that we're going down, where all the guardrails that we've had on our government seem to have just broken off, I'm afraid that those types of advocates are also going to face future problems. And what's going to happen?
I'm going to see if I can find this video. Antonin Scalia. Scalia. First Amendment. The Calbrook Port. All right, folks, I have to run. Maybe I'll watch this next time. Signing off for the day. We'll be live tomorrow with Lakeman Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then the post show right after that. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support. Have a good one.